Hi everyone, this is Priya Vashne and I welcome you all to the new video. So in this video, we are going to cover the most important statement of Plato, which is from his theory of education. So unlike our other videos as well, we are going to answer this question, right? Okay. So if you are interested in knowing more about his theory of education, then I'll request you to please visit our previous video. So I will give the link to that video in this description, right? In the description. Okay. So the statement is those states are best governed where rulers are reluctant to govern. Right. So all this we have actually properly understood in his theory of education. So again please go through this video and after that you will understand, because in this video we are just going to answer this question and I'll show you that how to write answers to such statement based questions, right? Okay. So again, the same structure which we had talked about in our previous video, that an answer should contain: number one, introduction; number two, we should define the context; number three, we need to explain it as it was explained by the thinker. And number four, we need to critically evaluate it. And hence, at the last, we need to give the conclusion, right? Okay. So again, in intro, what we do is we actually tell that from which theory this statement has been taken from. So this statement has been taken from his theory of education, where Plato is basically justifying for the institution of the philosopher king. Is it clear? Okay. Next, what is the context? We all know that was basically in a very bad state. Athens was in a very bad state. Why? Because it was being ruled by ignorance. It was being ruled by ignorance, right? So basically Plato believed that the ignorance of this ruling class was basically responsible for the bad state of the Athens, right? So therefore he's trying to find a solution to this problem, right? Okay. Now we need to explain the statement as explained by the Plato. Okay. So basically, in Socrates' theory of knowledge, we all know that Plato was the disciple of Socrates, therefore, sorry, knowledge. So, since Plato was the disciple of Socrates, so there was a lot of influence over Plato of Socrates, right? So, in Socrates' theory of knowledge, we have learned that knowledge is virtue, right? Knowledge is virtue. Now, what was the Plato's aim? Plato's aim was to make Athens a virtuous state, was to make Athens an virtuous state. Therefore, it has to be ruled by man of reason, right? Now, we have also understood that in order, why? Because in order to lead a good life, a good life, one should have the idea of good life, or one should know that what good life all compose of, right? Therefore, what Socrates has said, that knowledge has to be a true knowledge rather than the illusion of knowledge. And how he suggested to find the true knowledge through the method of dialectics. Is it clear? Therefore, what Socrates said was that only a man of reason will be able to comprehend that what constitutes a good life. Is it clear? Only a man of reason will be able to comprehend what constitutes a good life? A good life. Is it clear? So now how they are actually trying to justify for philosopher, okay? So again, since what he says is philosopher king, so philosopher king is the symbol of knowledge, is the symbol of knowledge, right? Knowledge and sacrifice. Why? Why? Because they have gone through 50 years of education and have proven the capacity of reasons, right? So let me go to the next slide. So basically, the philosopher king has gone through 50 years of education, as we have seen in the theory of education. So he has gone through 50 years of education, and they have proved their capacity, their capacity of reasons, of reasoning. You can say of reasons, right? Therefore, they will be able to do justice because they have knowledge, right? So why? Because or also they will not run. They will not see a person basically who are not able to do the justice. For basically those persons for whom such material things matter, right? They actually get indulged into their own selfish interest and actually do not give the justice. So what Plato is saying is that since philosophers have gone through the intense 50 years of education and have proved their capacity of reasons, so they will be able to do justice because they have no lust, no lust for money and power, no lust for money and power. Rather, they will always try to achieve a good life, right? Rather, they will always try to achieve a good life. Therefore, there will be a least motivation to misuse the power of authority, because they don't have any interest in that power, right? So there is will be a very least motivation to misuse the power of the authority. Hence Plato suggests that states are best governed where rulers are reluctant to govern. Is it clear? Why? So let me just repeat it. So, first of all, since he is influenced by theory of knowledge, he says that knowledge is the virtue there, and since he wants to make Athens a virtuous state, therefore he says that a virtuous state will be a state which has to be ruled by the man of reasons. So, man of reasons always want to lead a good life, and we all know that in order to lead a good life, we need to have the idea of good life. So, from where this idea of good life will come from? So basically he talks about the Socrates has also talked about the knowledge, the true knowledge, and actually basically separates the illusion of knowledge with the true knowledge through the method of dialectics. Then he says that a man of reason will be able to comprehend exactly that what constitutes a good life, right? So now Plato says that since philosopher king is a symbol of knowledge, since philosopher king is a symbol of knowledge, therefore again he will be able to comprehend better what good life compose of. So what he says is, since philosopher king has gone through intense training and education for 50 years, therefore they have proved their capacity of reason, therefore they will be able to do the justice. And why? Because they don't have lust for money. They know that good life, the source of good life is true knowledge, right? They know, philosopher king knows that source of good life is true knowledge rather than money and power. So they will be having least motivation for the misuse of the power of authority. Therefore, Plato says that states are best governed when rulers are reluctant to govern. Is it clear? So what we have done, we have actually given the introduction, then we have also set the context for the statement. We have now also explained the statement as per the Plato. Now we will critically examine that statement, right? Now we will critically examine that statement. So what do you think? Basically I'm asking from you that what do you think is the biggest flaw in the theory or in this statement? So what Plato is saying is that states are best governed when rulers are reluctant reluctant to govern, right? So what is the biggest flaw? See, the diagnosis of Plato is correct, right? It's correct. How? He has rightly diagnosed that since the ruling class was indulged in corruption, that was making Athens internally weak or vulnerable to the external attacks, right? And hence, we can say that, that was one of the most important reason behind the bad state of the Athens, right? So diagnosis was very much correct, but his prescription, what was his prescription? That the states are best governed when they rulers are reluctant to govern. So what his prescription is basically not acceptable, not acceptable. Why? Because he is ignoring the human psychology. Human psychology. So, it is true that those who are eager to come to power may have lust for money and power, but the solution cannot be worse than the disease, right? So, it is a proven fact that a person cannot perform well, right? Cannot perform well any task for basically longer duration if she or he does not have interest in his or work. What he's saying is that states are best governed when rulers are reluctant to govern. See, when rulers have no interest in basically ruling, right? They don't have any interest in to govern the country or to govern the state, then it is a proven fact that they will not be able to do proper justice to their work. This is a common human psychology that a person is not able to perform a task for longer duration with a proper efficiency if he or she is not interested in that work. So what is the problem with Plato's prescription is he has actually completely ignored the human psychology, hence his prescription, right? Hence his prescription is not acceptable, right? So again, so this is how we have critically examined it. Now comes the conclusion to the answer. So in conclusion, or we can say we have to give a way forward, right? Since we have said that his prescription is not acceptable, then we need to suggest a way forward to it. So we can say that we can think of some other legal or institutional measure to to deal with corruption of the ruling class, right? Of ruling class, rather than, so what was the problem? What was the exact problem was that the person who are eager to govern, there was a huge possibility that they will have lust for money and power, and hence there was a huge possibility for them to get corrupt, right? Isn't it? So what is the better way? So instead that we are basically placing those persons in power who do not even want to come to the power, instead of that we can actually devise some legal or institutional measure to deal with corruption of the ruling class, right? So this is how you can answer any statement based question. So I think you have understood the structure till now, because we have actually did I think 3 to 4 questions right until now. So we have actually did 3 questions I think. So in all the 3 questions we have understood how to structure our answer. First of all we give the introduction, then we set the context, then we explain it as explained by the thinker, then we critically examine it, and finally we give a conclusion or a way forward. So, one more thing which you should also focus is, if you actually understand the thoughts of a thinker, if you are able to get into the thoughts of the thinker or get into the mind of the thinker, you can very easily answer these things, because everything is interrelated. It's not like his theory of soul is very different and his theory of idea is very different, or his theory of idea and his theory of philosopher king there is no linkage. ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? Everything is interrelated. So it's very important for you to even show these linkages in exam, because जब तक आप ये नहीं करते ना तो examiner will not understand the depth of understanding you have of the concept, right? So this is all in this video. I hope you have liked this video. So thanks a lot for your time. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.